Get our meeting started. All right. I feel like there's a little bit of feedback, but is it okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. All right. Call to order. It's been a couple months, so. Sandra,
Yep, I can just.
okay, you go ahead.
Yep. So for roll call, Arnie,
Here.
Loughlin, McKellar,
Here.
Williams,
Here.
Toft,
Present.
Trottier, and Zierden.
Here. All right. Let's go ahead and do our Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next thing is to look over our notes from the last agenda and approve or amend as needed.
I'd like to make a couple comments if I could.
Okay.
I'd like to ask Mr. Chansky a couple questions. Do you have a degree in architectural landscape or civil engineering or any expertise in agronomy or hydrometry?
Well, two things, Mr. Toft. First, is your microphone on? It's the.
Top button.
I don't see it here.
You're able to now?
Hello, testing? Yeah, I don't see a green light. Could
You have to
hear me
hold the
okay?
button down for a couple seconds, and then it goes green.
All right, thank you. Did you hear any of my questions, Mr.
Can you
Chansky?
restate the question?
Sure. Do you have a degree in architectural landscape, civil engineering, any expertise in hydrometry or agronomy?
Madam Chair, can I ask what this has to do with approval of the
Yeah, I'm
agenda?
kind of curious what this has to do
Well,
with
the last
approval of
meeting
the
we
agenda.
ended, we were going to meet Mr. Maroney and Mr. Zierden, me and Mr. Curtin out to talk about and discuss Hole 5. And it was done, I emailed twice to get notified of that. We all talked about it. Mr. Maroney said he'd be more than willing to do that. And last week, Mr. Chansky and Mr. Zierden went out there and just decided what to do on their own. I mean, it's not your job description, so I'm just wondering if you have some other expertise that I'm unaware of.
First of all, we're just looking at the previous agenda.
Well, this is actually the current agenda, approving the current agenda.
Okay.
But this was approval of the minutes from last time.
No,
No, I
this
guess
is
it's
approval
not.
amendment of the agenda.
So, where would that fall,
What? The,
this discussion? I don't feel like
well,
Add an amendment.
we have to add
we
an
can either
amendment.
amendment, or if you had any questions, always committee member reports at the end.
Okay.
Otherwise, you can add an agenda item to the agenda.
How,
Well, I'll add it to the agenda. So I've already gone through it, so we'll wait till, when should I ask the question then again?
There's an item specifically for committee member reports at the very end of the
Okay.
agenda.
All right, I'll wait till then.
okay.
So
All
Madam
right.
Chair, again, what we're just looking for is any.
Make
vote to
an amendment.
Approve or amend the agenda.
Huh?
Tonight's meeting.
Make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, those that approve? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Those opposed? Okay, so add an amendment
So there was an amendment, he'll just, there's the.
during the committee member
reports
report
is- yeah,
piece.
during-
Okay.
He'll just talk
All
at
right.
that point.
All right. Any other amendments for our agenda tonight? Okay, let's go ahead and move along to open forum. If there's anybody that would like to speak from the community?
You just me, right? Besides you,
Yeah, you can come on up.
I have to come on.
Yep.
Yes, please.
If you'll Just let us know your name or your
I'm gonna
address.
introduce myself, I'm kind of new. I'm 2 weeks new to Breezy Point.
Okay.
So I moved in Lot 2, Block 8, I believe it is, right down off of Scenic Overlook. So,
Welcome.
thank you. Thank you. My wife and I and 2 children, so
Okay,
one in college and one just graduated high school. So
okay.
So I just came here, actually I met Bill Toft, but I just came here to introduce myself and to kind of see what our new community is going to be about and what's going on here. So as far as what's going on, I'm not really totally familiar, so hopefully I can find that out. Documentation or website or something like that. If you folks could let me know what that would entail or how I can find that, it'd be great.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's really it. So just to introduce myself. So I
Welcome.
worked for the railroad 30 years. I'm an electrician.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Breezy Point.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
introducing yourself.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for coming, Russ.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
All right.
One more.
Anybody, still open forum at this point, so anybody else would like to come speak to our committee? You're more than welcome to. Okay. All right. Moving on to item 6, for new business, discussing the Night to Unite
Yes, Madam Chair.
event coming up.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. So Night to Unite is on Tuesday, August 1st. That's when it's always held. Night to Unite is also similarly known as National Night Out, very similar events. Just in quickly a background of kind of what Night to Unite is about, as it was put in the packet. It's a statewide event that is intended to build and foster community bonds between citizens, businesses, and public safety organizations. They're really kind of main 4 goals: heighten crime and drug prevention awareness, generate support and participation in crime prevention and community policing programs, strengthen neighborhood spirits and public safety community partnerships, and let criminals know that you are committed to keeping your neighborhood safe. We've been doing Night to Unite for many, many, many years. It's been always kind of spearheaded by the police department. They've taken the lead on it. Normally what happens on that night is from about 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The police department is there, representative, the fire department, or actually a fire district, normally brings a truck and has some firefighters there, and I think might have an activity. We get representation generally from North Memorial Ambulance, as well as Life Flight, Air Care, North Memorial Air Care, when they're available. They almost always come and bring a helicopter and land it on the field over here. The Public Works Department brings out some of their equipment for the kids to kind of see and touch. And then we get donations from some of our area businesses for hot dogs, chips, water, things like that, for the community to have. It's generally a very well-attended event. The council hasn't formally generally budgeted for the event. Again, normally we get the donations, generally kind of cover what we have. Again, all the other organizations just come and bring their equipment and their people. But upon the request of Mayor Zierden, the council voted on July 6th to ask the Parks and Recreation Committee to discuss ways that maybe we can look at to enhance Night to Unite, as well as ways if you would be willing to volunteer for Night to Unite. They also allocated up to $500 for any enhancements that might be suggested, that maybe you could look at improving Night to Unite. And I think kind of in the future, especially as we're getting into budget season, they'll probably have more discussion on maybe budgeting for next year as well, obviously knowing that we're kind of less than a month away now, 3 weeks away from that night. So really, I think what the council is just asking was for the committee to discuss if there's any ways that you believe Night to Unite could be potentially enhanced, and if there's ways that the committee would be willing to volunteer and support the event on August 1st.
2nd? You mean August 2nd? Or is it August 1st? I'm sorry.
August 1st,
Yeah,
Tuesday,
Okay,
August 1st.
sorry.
Yep,
I had
Tuesday, August
written
1st.
down the wrong date. Sorry about that.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So I am trying to get some free water bottles, like 200 to 300 was what I was told is the number we're shooting for, from my kids' company, Aquarius Home Services. So they do Connecticut water, so nice water. So I'm trying to get that, and I will be there to volunteer.
Okay.
I think Bob Spizos donates the food, and I don't know, I mean, we're not running this, but I don't know if we could ask for something healthier than hot dogs and chips, because that's not food in my book. I'd rather see like turkey burgers or something, same difference, but I just hate it that's,
Well, maybe it's even, I know it's supper time, but maybe it's more like healthy snacks kind of a thing, like baby carrots and apples and,
something. I'm 6 to
Cheese
8, it
sticks
is
or
like a
something,
little
you know.
after the dinner hour, so it wouldn't have
Yeah.
to be the whole, but also I
Summer,
heard that,
hot dogs are a summer treat. Everybody loves hot dogs.
no, not everybody, sorry, sorry. I don't consider it
well, I could
food.
talk to Bob too. I mean, I don't know.
I would volunteer.
You
I-
volunteer?
I was guilty of handing out some of those hot dogs last year, but I did not
I'm
even
not
eat one.
100%, but I think it would upgrade it to
I
me.
agree, though, with something.
Something healthier, something,
We have a meeting
apples,
between now and then.
slices, or something else. Easy.
Go-Gurts.
I am going to be actually out of town on August 1st, but I would be happy to do some front end before type things happening that week before,
I can.
if needed.
Last year, when Sandy was there, and after it was over, she and I were talking, and she said she would like to step up and take a major role in organizing and planning it, so I'm quite disturbed she's not here today. But it might be worth asking her if she was still interested in kind of taking on a leadership role to some degree. She wanted to, like, give it some more punch it up a little, take it up a notch. And then I also have another person who just volunteered this afternoon, Clarice Blazer. She said, she's kind of elderly, but she said if there was some way she could help, she'd be willing to help serve and participate. So it's another name.
Well, and I'm wondering if there's ways to enhance even with resources, like I'm thinking there's a lot of ways to make things fun that are not overly expensive. We do that at Eagle View all the time. We have, beanbag boards and things like that that could just be maybe set out around the park, just that are actually zero cost. It would just be getting them here type of a thing. If
We're
there
talking
are
about maybe
other
a bouncy
activities.
house, maybe?
So, one comment we do have
Face
about pretty much any
painting.
other kind of activities we have going on is one request is the bounce house is kind of one that I've talked to Chief Sandell about and we kind of want to avoid.
Okay.
Two reasons I like to avoid the bounce house. The first is because of air care. They come and they land right on this field and depending on, and generally the parking lot in this area is pretty full
Yeah,
of
that
trucks
would-
and stuff.
that would be bad.
Air care will probably blow it away, and if it's there, they might not even come and land,
Okay.
honestly. And then I just have some general liability concerns with the bounce house.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Well, and maybe there's.
That's like the one thing that talking to Chief Sandell, he
Try
wanted
to
to
avoid
avoid
that.
a bounce
Okay.
house.
That makes sense. Someone said we had a speed reader, and then one year we did like kids riding their bikes.
Yeah,
and
we've
then
had a
taking
bike rodeo at our school,
Yeah,
and
something like
like,
that.
it's kind of fun because they have a radar and
The police using that.
invite the kids
Yeah.
to come ride. If there's the spacing, I don't know how it all officially lays out.
Joe, do you want to speak to kind of what you guys normally do that night?
So we give, ultimately, we have our equipment out there.
Yeah.
We give ATV rides on our UTV to kids. That seems to be a pretty popular one. When we used to have the radar trailer, we would set that up and let kids ride their bike and get a speed reading or even run sometimes. Yeah, but we don't have that anymore.
Okay.
And then we're just there, just engaging with the community and
Yeah.
meeting everyone and things like that. And that's kind of the goal of the whole thing is it's public safety driven and, to be able to showcase the not just the capabilities of the area of public safety, but also allow people to meet us and get to know us and things like that. I know Zone 3, they do hands-only CPR demonstrations. While they're there, we have, like I said, oftentimes the DNR is there with a boat, and the sheriff's office is there with a drone team and things like that. So it's a public safety driven this really allows us to kind of connect with the community in a more normal environment than we tend to
Okay.
meet them. So.
Well, and as I'm thinking about the beanbag thing too, I don't want to draw kids away from what's already, I mean, we have an awesome park. They're gonna have awesome equipment, so is there things even like, I don't know, police badges and different, I don't know, different things that we could maybe even get
I think they gave-
logoed with City of Breezy. I don't know,
And keep in mind, right, we're
I mean,
2 weeks out essentially. from-
right, yes,
So,
it's gonna be quick.
Hard to plan.
anything ambitious is probably, we don't have time to do.
Yeah.
I mean, from, you know, because we just don't have the time right now to do it. But to put it on the agenda maybe for next year to, as part of your comprehensive planning process and stuff like that. So
Do you have like stickers and stuff you give out, Joe?
we have a few stickers. I think our handouts were kind of dwindling on. We haven't.
Or like coloring books or activity
Yeah, we
books,
used- yeah, we
safety.
used to have activity books and
Okay.
stuff. I think we still have
Some.
some of that we give out and stuff like that.
I mean, I don't think it should be run by the Park and Rec Department, and it hasn't in the past, but
No, and I
everyone's
don't
willing
think,
to
I don't think the
volunteer.
council is necessarily asking you to run it. I think they were asking if you had ideas for enhancements and then.
Joe, is there a jail facility over here? I mean, as a kid, we took a tour and it was great to see the jail, so they don't,
No,
okay,
unfortunately, we don't have any type of holding facility.
okay.
We can't do a dunk tank for the chief?
That was my idea.
Raise some money.
I did bring that up for the chief, and he said if a park committee member wanted to get dunked,
No,
he's
I
all
think
for it.
Joe's the water guy. Joe is the water guy.
I think that would be
Maybe it's
fun.
too
That's
warm,
all.
Joe.
The
It's always a
wastewater
hit.
operator.
It's always
The
a hit.
ice jumper.
It's
Always a hit.
We'll put ice water in it, Joe, if you'll do it.
That's fine. I jumped 21 times into frozen Pelican Lakes.
yes, for
Wow.
pull or plunge, right? Yeah.
So someone mentioned that we always have to make the food, whatever the food is, in the kitchen because we don't have a grill.
So
And that-
we actually were just discussing that, was that Tuesday?
Yeah.
About maybe that was actually something we would acquire, because we're talking about cooking the hot dogs or whatever food we have.
Yeah.
And that maybe some of this money might actually be a good
Could
use.
we
would be
purchase a grill
would be
for-
to acquire a grill, 'cause then it can be used for
And then,
all
you know,
future
we would
future
have
events
one
as
for
well.
other
Hey,
things.
hot dogs were grilled last year, I'm pretty sure.
I believe someone brought their personal grill for that.
That is true.
I think maybe they were pre-cooked and then just browned out there or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, so
Well,
maybe the
I mean,
500
something
could be
that's
gone.
investment that could be
They're
used.
giving us 500 this year to use for the grill, we could use it for other events too.
Well, and I would like to see, I mean, and I don't even know if this is, but that's a grill that, yeah, maybe at other events or opening of different,
So where would you get a dunk tank?
you rent them from the party store. I could get a quote from them. For printing too, I was thinking, I have worked with a company, like if we did want something in 2 weeks that had City of Breezy logoing or anything like that kids went home with.
I mean, we got 2 weeks. Is somebody going to look into that, or we got anybody besides Joe Garcia who will get dunked?
Well, I think we have to decide as a group exactly which direction. We haven't heard from everybody,
We're
so,
just giving inputs, we're not doing, so.
Fire
Yeah,
chief.
we can tell them that we want them to go get the prints or whatever, but it's not really our job to do
Right.
that as a park.
right?
Or ask them, I should say. Suggest.
Mr.
Sounds
Tom?
like we got a pretty decent lineup of things going on.
Yeah. I'm
And
just kind of curious, enhancement, like Mr. Maroney, if you have any, I wasn't at the last meeting.
Yeah, when it came to that, I didn't have anything off the cuff that I could think of.
Okay.
And so it was, as the mayor indicated, to kind of ask multiple people. It is kind of 11th hour of a discussion. But we kind of figured if there was something that somebody's like, I got this, we can do this. Great, we allocated 500 already, that if you wanted to spend it, you can do so to enhance that. But the bigger discussion was, maybe not this year unless that grand
Right.
idea came to fruition, but at least if the park committee wanted to consider it for the next years of how to enhance, especially it sounds like multiple committee members may be there. I'll be there eventually, and just kind of have that forethought of what could we bring to the table next year.
Okay.
Nothing was really earmarked. We thought we'd throw a little budget out there, and if somebody had that idea that could be implemented, like a dunk tank, we already have a volunteer, might be worth something.
We
if
could
that's-
do shifts too, like, I mean, if we could find 2 people, because, I mean,
I wouldn't say I'm a volunteer. I said I could probably be persuaded.
Just sit in there.
Party World has a dunk tank for $175.
Okay.
I was going to say about
All right.
200 or 250, I thought was,
Great.
because you have to have delivery and all
Yeah,
that too.
there'll be additional fees on that.
Yeah,
That would probably be the 500 then.
It'll be 250 probably.
yeah, I was
with
thinking 2 to,
delivery.
yeah.
Okay.
And again, if it's 11th hour thing for this year, definitely on the docket for next year.
Okay.
But
Here's what I'll say. As a parent, bringing my kid there, she comes, she looks at all the fire trucks, she looks at police cars, she looks at the helicopters. She goes, runs and plays on the playground equipment. She eats hot dogs because she loves hot dogs, and chips, and drinks water. And she just, I think, it'd be really easy to get super ambitious about it and have it lose the true meaning. Now, don't get me wrong, I would like to find ways to attract more people, because I really do think it's an important event, and I think the sentiment behind it, I think the motivation behind it is good and important, but I think really it's good to just get the community out there interacting with each other, interacting with public safety, interacting with city staff and city council and things like that, and just kind of a get together rather than being too activity focused.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
that's
maybe-
just what I would say.
Maybe in the future too, it's even just a education piece on our part too of what activities do we offer, healthy activities, a pamphlet or something that has that information too. That we could create and, yeah. Okay.
So at this late hour, maybe the grill is the best idea.
The what?
The grill is the best idea, and it will have multiple uses in the future. Get a
Is
grill.
there a place to store it to, I mean,
Yeah.
Joe, do we have,
We've got, grills aren't, I don't know if we go and get like a massive Weber or something, but
right.
we've got space. We can store it.
So who does the shop? I mean, do we just ask that we purchase a grill within budget and you guys, somebody
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
takes
Staff
care of
do
that?
Okay.
Okay. Does that sound
Yeah.
good to you? You're getting out of it, I think.
For this year.
Next year,
I'll be honest, that was a good idea too. I think that would get.
That would be fun. And it's not too crazy, It's just one place, one thing.
it'll be nice to have a grill for future use.
Yeah.
And other events possibly too, so.
I'll make a motion
Okay,
that staff will purchase a grill for community events, and we can use it for multiple things.
I second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right,
They should be on sale now.
yeah. All right, next is some old business. About park signage. I had read all the notes from the last meeting about the discussion about that?
Yeah, so the last meeting, the direction that the Parks and Recreation Committee gave was that they were we had talked about signs in the past, and they came back and kind of gave very direction what they wanted was signs to be placed at all the parks that say no smoking and no drinking. So Public Works Supervisor Zierden went and gotten some quotes. For that quote is attached these would be 12 by 18 black and white, kind of, again, street style aluminum reflective signs that say no smoking, no drinking. We estimate that we need about 12 to cover all of the parks and the entrances and for all the parks. Those that quote came in from M&R Sign for $253.20. That doesn't include the posts. Those could range between $20 and $50 depending on the style of post. But Joe pointed out that some of the locations already have places for them to be mounted, so we wouldn't need a post for everything. Councilmember Maroney, actually at the July 6th council meeting, to try to keep this moving, did ask the council to pre-approve a budget for signs in order to expedite the process. So if you approve it tonight, we can get ordering and get them installed. The council did approve a budget of up to $500 for signage. So if there was anything more beyond what was in the quote, they gave a little bit of a wiggle room for that signage. So that is pretty much pre-approved up to $500 for signage for what you would like to do.
You know, I'd like to add a couple more items for signs. I was at the swimming beach on Sunday, and I've never been there before. That is a beautiful beach. It's gorgeous. But there was a kid fishing there with a daredevil, and you know, I didn't say anything to him because I just didn't feel I had the authority to, but I'm assuming a no fishing sign there so we don't have anybody getting hooked. I mean, it seems like it's common sense, but this kid was casting, and there wasn't that many people there, and he wasn't going to hit anybody, but it's like you almost have to tell people the obvious so they don't.
Well, and I
Don't
think
do it.
at what point, in my opinion, where do we stop on the no's though too? Because there's
Well, another one I want, I think we should have no motorized ATVs in the disc golf expansion. Mr. Officer Garcia checked on that, and he said there is an ordinance for that. And I know that was down there July 4th because I heard it and ran down there, and they were already gone. And then no overnight camping. I'm assuming we don't want overnight camping in the disc golf parking lots.
well, anybody else have anything to add on this?
No motor vehicles should cover that, right? On the ATVs or how would you put, I mean, we have those all over the four season.
We have them on the trails,
On the four
but-
season trails, yeah. So
Right.
we should definitely have it over there for sure.
So keep in mind, like, and this is, I mentioned this at a few meetings ago. The signage at the public beach is regulated by city ordinance, chapter 91, which is our Parks and Recreation ordinance, which really only has one section, which is public beach regulations. And so those items on that sign at the public beach are straight out of the ordinance. And as far as I can see, like, Mr. Toftstraight, our traffic ordinance prohibits ATVs on park property. But other than that, I haven't been able to find, outside of ordinance where we can, ultimately, any park rules either have to be, the city has to be empowered to make these park rules, I think, through ordinance, or the ordinance has to be somehow changed.
So making like applicable to all park
Well,
spaces.
so what I think Joe was saying is, so for example, the no fishing, camping, we have rules about about camping.
Yeah, we have camping. We have
ATVs, we
camping
have
rules.
rules about fishing. The no fishing, and actually even currently the no smoking, there are no ordinances to enforce it. So it's not that necessarily say you can't put it on the sign, but the problem is if someone sees something smoking and there's a complaint, we can't do anything about it because ordinance doesn't explicitly prohibit it. So there would need to be, what Joe's saying is we eventually would need to do an ordinance amendment passed by the council that would say no smoking on public property, no fishing at the public beach. to actually those
Make it
things be
enforceable.
enforceable. At that point, until then, they're more of suggestions,
Well, and
advisories.
what are our biggest concerns? Is it intoxication? I mean, I think as a mom, that's intoxication and smoke exposure.
Well, and fires.
Yeah, fire.
I would like to, if we could, address the QR codes. That way we can change things without changing the sign. So if we just stick to the basics, no smoking, don't drinking, for further QR code. And then we can change that all the time. Is that enforceable? Well, I didn't have my phone, so I couldn't go site to see, I don't know, but if they're all suggestions anyway, maybe that's the way to go. And we do the signs one time, QR code, the site can be managed and changed.
Yeah, so
at
the
will.
digital piece just gets updated.
Yes. And the
And
signs
I want to
will
be clear that we're definitely not saying that don't put no smoking, but I would say is if you do choose to go with no smoking, I would encourage that there be either part of that recommendation or a follow-up recommendation would be to ask the council to consider adopting an ordinance
Yeah.
that says no
Yes.
smoking on public property.
I think those are the two main things, for sure. And then if we feel strongly, then should we make a motion to forward it to the council to revise the,
So I would like to make a
The
motion
ordinances?
to go ahead and
The-
get this.
for smoking? And
I hate to kind of go off in the legalistic weeds here, but at some point, smoking has to be defined too, right? Whether it's in the ordinance amendment or what have you, because is vaping,
Vaping,
smoking,
right.
And that's where I think the motion, we would get into that as we bring it to the council, because
Yeah.
especially of looking at the change in state law following August 1st, you'd probably need to clarify, and that's what you actually see in a lot of parks, they do clarify smoking or tobacco use from vaping. We'll probably need to now also call out cannabis. Well, some people would say, well, aren't they all the same thing? If anything, the courts have said they're not. So you kind
So
of have to
can
just cover all
those
your
details
bases.
be in an ordinance?
Yeah, they'd be
though?
in the ordinance, so as we're
And we can
developing the
have-
ordinance, we would get that wording in there. That wording would be reviewed by the city attorney to make sure it kind of covers all of our bases and doesn't leave us open for any potential litigation or anything. But
One small detail on the quote, it does say no smoking or drinking alcohol. I don't know if it should say and. I don't know if that's a technicality or something, but I just wouldn't want things to be printed and,
Or no smoking of any kind added to the word.
yeah.
I think we discussed that last meeting.
so it sounds like we need to make a motion to ask the council to make an ordinance prohibiting smoking of any kind.
Can we still get the signage rolling though?
And no alcoholic beverage.
No alcohol.
So that'd be kind of what I'm looking for, yes.
So
I think-
number one, that.
Yeah,
So
so
that
if you
goes
want
up,
the
so it's
council to
actually
consider
official.
that, I would
Yeah.
say make a motion, then we'll bring that to council saying,
Yes.
recommendation from the Parks and Recreation Committee. But then we'd also want some direction of, do you want to move forward with the signs right now, or do you want, what do you want us
So
to do
Bill,
with
do
the
you want to make
signs?
that?
Yes, yeah, I'll make
Okay.
that motion.
Well,
Then we move forward to the council, recommend that we, for sure, no smoking, no alcoholic beverages, and we can talk about adding other things in the
Update
future,
the
I guess. But
ordinance.
let's get those two going, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can address that ordinance when they have time.
Yeah. I'll second that motion. All right, those in,
Are we clear on that?
Yeah, an ordinance, yep.
okay. Do you need a roll call or a vote or just those in
Well, we need
favor?
a vote, yeah, because there's a motion, so if
Yep.
there's any
So
I would say if there's
any
any
other
discussion for-
discussions?
No, I'm okay with the sign.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
And so that was the
For the
motion
ordinance.
for the ordinance.
To come back to the city council to
Yeah,
ask.
send that, so now we'd.
So now I would like to make a motion to purchase some of the signage, get it up if we can.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't know if it would change the cost of the printing, or we need to have our exact wording here, I think, figured out.
Yeah, Kid, right now this quote is based off of signs that say no smoking or no smoking or drinking alcohol.
Or drinking alcohol, so that's not what it says in
And is
here.
it-
So
do you
is
know-
there do we have a picture of the sign or a mock-up?
It's,
Do we know if it's just based on
They
the
quote it
size
off
of
of-
it or the actual,
Like,
12 by
is it
18?
like that? That's on the beach.
that?
yeah, it's a simple
No, this is
kind
just
of,
an add-on,
yeah,
small.
it's a simple
Yeah.
12 by
But
18.
it could go like right under.
Yeah,
could go
12,
right below it.
12 inches wide, 18 inches tall, white.
I mean, they probably made a
reflective
mock-up when
material
they did the
sign
But it
that
says
says
no
No
alcoholic
smoking
beverages.
or drinking
Yeah, it
alcohol.
says right there, the third one.
Yeah.
I don't know where we need to get in the technicalities, if anybody has a strong opinion on changing that or not.
Regarding the QR code, if that's something we want to go down, we'd have to kind of do a whole setup in the back. That's probably also something we can probably get on
I'm
a
wondering if we
sticker
could
and
add
then
it,
just-
yeah, add a
we
logo.
wouldn't have to
Good idea.
pre-print the sign, we just put the sticker on the
Make sure
signs.
we leave room for it
Yeah.
on the sign.
Yeah.
Could be in a corner or something.
Yeah, so that would be important on the, if we wanted to add it to these signs.
But all I would say is we can't do it right now because we don't even, we'd have to have it like, you'd want it to redirect for something specific on the city website and all that. So we have to do all that in the background
back end.
before
A
we
whole
could do
different
that.
sign.
So if you wanted that physically printed, first of all, we have to talk to the printer if they can physically do that. I'm assuming they can. But then we would have to do all that stuff in the back end before we could even send this off to the sign shop.
Do we,
So that's why I was thinking we could just, later on, once we get that, and we'd bring it back, probably want to bring it back to the committee, say, want to make sure, like, this is the page it redirects to, is this what you want? Then it could just be a sticker that we stick on all the signs.
do we need to make a motion to have somebody start developing that in the background? So
You can
when we're
include
ready for the QR, it's already kind of in the works?
Yeah, we'd want direction on that as well.
Well, should we at least get this piece of the signage? I mean, I'd like to, as soon as possible, get them up on
Yeah, I
as
agree.
many property.
Yep.
Yeah, do
Sure.
we want to leave room at the bottom of this one, though, to put that QR sticker?
Yeah, we can work with
Because
it.
this is not much on a sign. We can leave some room.
Yeah, we can work on that.
Okay.
That's something that
The
you
question
could,
is, so really at this point, the motion,
We
okay,
just
the
need to
motion
make-
is, do you want to accept this quote from M&R Sign for no smoking or drinking alcohol signs?
So it says no smoking or
Or-
drinking alcohol, not and. Is that what you said?
I think
Yeah.
the purpose of the or is you can't do
bit
either.
shorter.
If you put and, it
Right.
kind of indicates that you can't
do
do them
one.
Both
together.
Well, that's why it's written this way in here, and that's why we're asking.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah,
'Cause
to
it's said
clarify
a
the
couple
or, I
different
think the
ways.
or is actually, you would want the or, so you can't drink or smoke.
Well, I was
Say
just
drink.
thinking, do we repeat the no? Because I know in a school, like we,
So then I would remove the
Are
or,
very-
so it'd just say no smoking, no drinking alcohol.
Right.
Remove the or.
just, so it's not either or
It's
it's
both.
just very
We could
clear.
say no alcoholic beverages.
No smoking or drinking alcohol.
I think it should be
Joe,
Right.
on
No.
that. do-
no smoking,
I'm
no
gonna
drinking
Confer
alcohol.
to you, would it be better to say just no alcohol? Because this would indicate, because we've talked about this before, this wouldn't necessarily say, in this situation, you could possess.
Correct.
You just can't consume. If we say no alcohol,
Oh.
would that cover both possession and consumption?
It will.
Yeah, so then you might want to
It's
just,
hard to consume if you can't possess.
Right.
yes. So I guess it'd be better just to say
So
no
maybe no
alcohol.
smoking, no alcohol.
Yeah.
So just no smoking first line, no alcohol second line, space for the QR code.
That's how
Simple,
the public
simple?
beach sign is, just, that's exactly like that, yeah.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to, with the updated,
Second.
to accept the quote from MR Signs Company and also purchase posts as needed to get signs up.
Is that a motion? I'll second it.
Okay,
Yeah,
I think Jim actually
Oh.
already seconded.
okay.
all right. Any discussion, further discussion of? All right, those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
All right. Back to our agenda here. So 7B,
Okay. So 7B, Madam Chair, brings us to the draft 2024 parks budget. So kind of based off of the guidance that we've been receiving. Dana, if you want to go to the second page, we'll just kind of go right to the spreadsheet and then zoom in a little bit. This is the kind of the draft of what the budget would look like. First taking into the recommendation or the request to put in kind of, right now how the budget looks is it's just kind of the operating stuff and no labor. And the request was to tie in labor to parks. So that's what we've done. That's kind of what the first, 8 items on there, compensation through liability insurance, are all related to labor. And so those were just directly pulled out. I worked with Joe, and we figured out what we feel like would be an appropriate amount. I think it comes to about roughly 10% of the total public works wages into parks. So that covers the compensation, all the insurances, taxes, all that, and then also the entirety of the seasonal part-time wages. So the seasonal employee we get. That employee primarily does parks work, so we felt it would be appropriate just to move that all out of public works and into parks. So that's all that really does is we're moving all those expenses out of public works and into parks.
and is this part of the increase,
No.
the increase?
Yeah, no, I'll get to
Okay,
that.
sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that was we're just really public works. What happens if you'll look at the end of the day when we get to the full budget with the council is public works will probably actually end up going down a little bit, but parks goes up. So it's really kind of just a net. So we're just taking it just from public works and moving what we believe will be roughly the amount of time that we spend on parks into parks.
Mr. Chansky, do you want us to comment, or you want to finish the presentation? I just was curious where you got the 10% again. I missed that.
So Joe and I talked about how much time they generally spend out there on a year-by-year basis, and that's kind of where we came to that 10% number, is how much time they actually in some years it's lower, in some years it's higher. Like it all depends on, is it a year we get a lot of rain? Then we have to do a lot more mowing. If it's a dry season, if there's other things going on, so it kind of fluctuates, and we felt like 10% was that happy medium of what they actually spend out there. Okay, so that's the labor piece. We then, everything from code number 210 down to 720 is kind of your operating. So we got in there, and this is where some of your increases come into play. So general operating, we increased that $1,500, and that's just, again, to be more close to, I think, what we generally want to spend. Joe and I talked about kind of what comes out of general operating, and we felt we wanted to increase that a little bit to allow for, again, additional maintenance of the playground areas, the ball fields, the golf courses, and to address kind of just increased costs of different things, different materials, wood chips and such. Motor vehicle fuels, that's a newer one. So that's a new one that we added. So we calculated roughly how much we think we're going to spend. Looked at how often we mow, how many gallons the gas, roughly it takes 20 gallons of gas to mow everything once a week, kind of times 15 weeks, and then have a little buffer in there for other pieces of equipment that might have to get used on the parks system throughout the year. Landscaping, we increased that. Again, that comes for, again, just playground, things like mulch and flowers and other things that we might want just to keep our parks up nice. Equipment rental became the same. Professional services got increased. Most of the professional services right now is for porta potties. Property insurance, I just increased that slightly for generally our annual increases. Equipment, maintenance, beach improvements, capital equipment outlay, we all kept it the same. Some years we spend money, some years we don't. Kind of all depends on need. The biggest one I think came from your request is your capital outlay. That's your money to do stuff. So that was normally in the past number of years, it's kind of been budgeted, just like last year's budget at 10,000 for capital outlay. So that went up to 100,000 per, I think, for the request that we got from the committee, and then transfer to other. Again, we say that 10. That transfer other, that's a transfer to the capital fund to help fund for future projects, replacement of parks equipment and stuff like that in the future. So that comes to a total expenditures for the Parks and Recreation of $169,559. But again, some of that is just transfer from Public Works to Parks. So when you take out the things that are just reallocations, it comes to a increase of $97,000 over 2023.
Well, I want to thank you guys for putting this together and taking a look at it. I have a couple of questions, if I may.
Absolutely.
Okay. Mr. Zierden, I was just curious, do you have yourself, Mr. Carlson, Jory Carlson, Mr. Pratt, Mr. Johnson, and Ben Babcock? Those folks, you're the supervisor. Is there anybody else besides that crew?
Ben no longer works here.
Okay, so there's no seasonal employee now?
Yes, there's,
Caleb?
Caleb.
Okay.
Yeah, Caleb's our seasonal, yeah.
Okay. I think you guys do a great job. I'm just going to say that right now. So anything I say, I'm not diminishing what you guys do, because I know how conscientious you are and your crew is. So I just want to say, though, that I think the wage number, and here again, we can adjust this, but I think the wage numbers is a little low here. Because this is public record, if you go off of what those salaries are, the number's closer to about 370,000, which would indicate a labor cost of about 39,000, taking 10% of that. The other numbers I really don't have much of a dispute with. The fuel might be a little low, I think, but maybe gas goes down, so I don't want to argue about that. I guess my main question was also is that when we talked about this, I wanted to break down what the areas that we purview, what percentage it costs us. So, for example, I went to every single trail, fishing pier, everything that we manage, that Park and Rec is committed to. And I broke down the percentage like this, and you've been doing this, so you probably could fix this if you think I'm incorrect. But I figure 5% of this goes to the beach cost, 5% to the fishing pier, 10% for the trail maintenance. That's just the Four Seasons, and then cemetery, I guess you just cut one 15-foot circle around the cemetery. Baseball field, I have 15%, and I have the disc golf course. Right now, it's 65% of all that. Would you say that's in the ballpark?
percent of what?
Well, if it costs, I have total costs of these items about what Mr. Chansky outlined is $66,840. What percentage of that? I took that percentage then and earmarked what each of those cost. That's what I want to know, what each individual thing costs.
Are you asking like operating costs or to
Right.
maintain?
Right, what it costs to run the fishing pier.
Because each project has cost a lot.
Okay, yeah. So you just clarify.
I can handle. If you're trying to come up with a theoretical, basically this is the percentage, that hasn't worked for a number of reasons. For example, one year, let's say the swimming beach, it washed out multiple times. We spent an inordinate amount of labor and money on it that particular year. Let's see, when was the drought? A couple of years ago?
Yeah, a couple summers ago.
2 years
Yeah.
ago, I think we mowed the walking trail and the disc golf course like 2 or 3 times. So having a consistent trend, and then like projects, like when the playground was redone, that took the bulk of our labor that year, removing mulch. The fishing pier, for example, that initially wasn't, the initial installation didn't go as planned, and it was modified that year. It's almost like year to year, initially when the disc golf course was built, we tend to get these surges that can make tracking funds it can make it challenging.
Well, we talked about that. I don't want you to have to sit and keep track of every single person, every minute that is spent, but, I'd like some sort of, I mean, you've been doing it a long time, your guesstimate of what these breakdowns percentages might be. I mean, you're the expert, I'm not,
Like just as far as mowing
want that
essentially, and like fertilization costs and like that's relatively consistent depending on, well, I shouldn't say that, because part of the park is irrigated, it gets mowed a lot more than anywhere else. Like the cemetery.
Yeah.
PSP, there's more work, and the irrigation is actually, we do a lot of stuff with irrigation. So I guess you'd have to identify the specific items, and I could absolutely give you like, this is in a normal year without projects, without storms, kind of what we see.
what would that be in a normal year? I know normal's not a defined exact definition, but just a guesstimate.
The swimming beach, well, I guess, what are you specifying? Just work, mowing, trimming, litter pickup, irrigation repair. There's a number of things that go into the budget, and to isolate them like that is kind of tricky, I guess. Especially on the spot. I guess if you can identify them, then I can do some homework.
Well, yeah.
May I ask you a question, Bill? What is it you're looking for? What are you going to do with these
We're making
numbers?
decisions, recommendations, we don't make decisions, but we're making recommendations to the council. And like I've spoken before, if we don't have exact numbers of what we're recommending, it's not really a good and fair recommendation, because we don't know what it's actually going to cost the taxpayer.
Council decides that. We recommend.
We
to
can
council.
recommend, but we should have an idea what it's costing us, the taxpayer, if we make a recommendation to the council. So they have better information, the better information we have, the better decisions we're going to make.
But I think in some of that, we're getting bogged down in the, I don't know, anything in regards to Park and Rec has been able to be absorbed and maintained by Public Works, no matter who has been leading it. And it's just, go ahead, Gail.
Would it be burdensome to start just when people do things to put down exactly what they're doing, and then if you wanted to put it together at the end and look at it, I mean, then we could have a start of the
Yeah.
process? Would that be burdensome to you and your staff?
Joe, can you use your microphone?
Part of my concern too is like, obviously I know schools, but when we tighten up and want all this documentation, and I'm not, regardless of him being my husband or whatever, that's a whole nother, but we, at a certain point, we need to be able to trust them to do their jobs, and you're spending more admin time or director time, or that's a cost to the city too.
Right.
Sitting down and, keeping tick for tat. I don't know.
I feel like this is micromanaging. We're a recommending committee. We can recommend the Taj Mahal. Then it's up to Mike and the rest of the council to figure out if that's good and how to pay for it. I thought we were more of a concept and recommendation kind of body, not this micromanaging, oh geez, Joe, you had a guy over there for 6 hours, we better charge that off. I don't think that's our job. I don't think it's our charge.
If I can, Madam Chair, so kind of, maybe I'll take a step back. So when it comes to especially the wages, each employee, each of our full-time employee, we budget kind of what their wage is gonna be, and I actually even break it down to like, from this date to this date, because employees take steps. We have a grid system, so they take steps on their anniversaries of like, from this time to this time, they're at this rate, at this time, they're at this rate, and for 2,080 hours a year. And so, if an employee makes, $25 an hour, it's 25 times 280 hours. that's what we budget that amount, plus all the, the taxes, FICA, para, like it's in, life
Insurance,
insurance, health
benefits.
insurance, all the benefits. That is what we budget, that amount, that goes in the general fund, that's what goes towards the levy. In this, like I was trying to, as I put in here, when I was saying reallocation, all I did was, again, we took an amount that we felt was appropriate and took it from Public Works to Parks. Both Public Works and Parks are part of the general fund. So it's really just kind of how much, like you're just coding it to a different line at the end of the day. It's not really, we didn't say we're adding an additional 17,000 or additional $33,309 in wage-related expenditures to the budget. We just shifted it from Public Works to the Parks line item, both of which are in the general fund. So we were gonna budget that, of 2,080 hours for every one of our Public Works employees, no matter what.
I don't feel like it's a Park and Rec's business, really, regarding people's compensation. You just give us a number and that's what we deal with. We don't have to argue that at all.
Yeah, just at the direction and recommendations requests we were given, that's where we decided, said, okay, how much time do we think on an average year the team
And
puts on the parks, and that's what we felt was.
And I would also like to clarify, like, Bill, your initial, when you're looking at 10% of all the staff,
Right.
that's, I see where you're coming from, but realistically, Park and Recs is 6 months a year. So it's not, 10% of our time over the whole year. It's a fraction of our time, some of our time. Our summer help does the majority of our routine mowing, cleaning, lowest paid, no benefits. It's also generally lower skill stuff. He'll do fertilizing. The rest of our guys, it's limited how much they're actually out there. So that's why, like, if you look at our labor budget as a whole, because Caleb works, as much as everybody else in summertime. So it's 100% of his time, and in our summertime, it's a good chunk, but Bill almost never does any park work whatsoever, unless there's projects or we need help along that lines. And like as far as tracking time, yes, it would be burdensome. I'll give you like an explanation or an example of a typical morning. We start out, we do this thing called lift routes, which is a sewer job. Drive around town, check our lift stations, make sure they're running right. While we're doing lift route, we drive past the fishing pier, check the garbage, because that's efficient. We're driving right by there. We drive right by the swimming beach. So that's someone that's doing a sewer task primarily, stopping, taking care of a park thing. And then like bathrooms are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Trash out at the disc golf course is typically Monday, Friday. When Caleb's going to check trash, he swings through the cemetery, which is a different account to check on this, do that, whatsoever. So, I mean, a lot of how I schedule tasks, I try to do it, let's get most of our tasks done efficiently. Like when we mow the walking trails, for example, that we also will mow lift stations, because what we're using to mow them is driving past lift stations when he goes to mow the walking trail. And there's a lot of overlap. It would be, I don't know if you get a whole lot of benefit of breaking them down. I mean, if I put thought to it, I know how long it takes to do all this stuff and how many times we do it. Weather changes it, but I know an average amount. And if those are items the board would like to cross-examine more, it's something I can do, but
I feel
it's
like
just-
this
it's
has,
information.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks.
I feel like this has more detail than I would ever necessarily need personally. That's
I
just
think
my.
just after hearing that and knowing that we have kind of consistent amount that we budgeted for year to year for some of these things, and now seeing this little more detailed breakdown, our biggest concern is stuff, the capital outlay, right? And then Joe's going to tell us if he can handle that with his staff or not. And then that's how we decide on what things go forward, right? I mean,
If I may, Mr. Toft, if, one of the comments that you made was about the 10% of the budget. Keep in mind, that's from Public Works, so there's still an allocation of funds for that staff, for roads, for sewer. So 10%, which makes it, 177,000, isn't the 5 total compensation. There's other budgets that it's all coming from roads and sewers.
Correct. Yeah, no, I totally forgot about the sewer
You
department.
got other
which
things to
is-
do.
Yeah, that's how I came up with a higher number.
Yep, and so this is only allocating their time that they've allocated from normal public works and not the sewer, not the roads funds. So if you add all those up, that's where you're gonna get the compensation of what their hourly wages are combined.
All right. Where were we?
So we went,
Need a motion for the budget.
yeah, so I guess,
To
there's-
approve the
I guess at this
budget?
point, are there any other comments or any requested amendments?
Any discussion
Any
about-
discussion about the budget? And then, otherwise, if the committee's comfortable with it, we'd appreciate I'll give you a quick, before you get back into your discussion, kind of timeline, the budget calendar that the council adopted. They have a budget kickoff, we're calling it their kickoff on August 1st at 1 PM. That workshop is really kind of some of the higher, big level items we need some direction on while we're developing the preliminary budget. Then on August 15th, so Tuesday, August 15th at 1 PM, they'll have their preliminary budget workshop. So that's when we'll walk through the entire preliminary kind of draft budget with the council. That'll include parks. And then they'll give some direction if there's anything that they would like to see changed prior to Tuesday, September 5th. That's the regular council meeting in September. It's on Tuesday because Monday is Memorial Day.
Holiday.
On that date is the scheduled date that they will conduct the public hearing we'll conduct a public hearing and then consider adopting the preliminary budget and levy. Minnesota state statute requires all municipalities and counties to adopt a preliminary budget and levy by September 30th of every year and then have it submitted to the county auditor. So we have to do that by September 30th, and then we have until, I think it's like December 21st to approve the final budget. So the deal is preliminary budget, we put it gets sent off to the county auditor, recorded, and then in, I think it's October, they send out kind of your preliminary tax bill. So then they have all the information from the school district, the city, the county, any special districts, kind of makes up your whole tax bill. So that in December, when the city conducts, it's what they call a truth and taxation hearing. The city conducts a truth and taxation hearing, the school district does a hearing for their piece, the county does their piece. And then the council will consider adopting the final budget at that point. The deal is the final budget really the final levy can be lower than than the rate they set in September, but it cannot be higher. So for example, they set a 10% levy in September, they can adopt a 7% levy in December, but they can't adopt a 12. So it can't be higher, but it can be lower. So that's kind of our plan, that's our course of action. August 1st again is the budget kickoff. August 15th is when they go through the full preliminary ahead of September 5th. We'll conduct the public hearing. That's when the public gets to come and comment on the budget and the levy. At that meeting, I give a full presentation breakdown of the entire budget. Once they've conducted the public hearing, the council will consider if they want to amend the preliminary budget and levy at all, and then they'll adopt it. Depending on where we're at that point, the council may choose to hold another workshop in October to kind of continue to, depending on how they're feeling about the budget, if they want to tweak more things. And then again, on December, what is the first Monday in December? That is December 4th is when they will conduct the truth and taxation hearing we call on the final budget and levy. So that's kind of that's the calendar. We call it the budget calendar.
Okay.
Do we need to be at that August 1st meeting?
August 1st, I don't think there's anything, I don't have anything parks related on that meeting.
Oh, I think so that's when they're,
So this,
Or the
your
15th, I mean,
your
the
request,
15th?
your request will be presented
On the
to council
15th?
on the 15th,
so should we be there
if you would like.
at 1 o'clock
It's at 1 o'clock.
here?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So I guess again,
Any further
going back any
discussion?
further, anything else
Yeah.
that,
About our budget and,
anything?
We need a motion, don't we now?
Yes, I would appreciate,
So
if
I'll
you're
make a
ready, a
motion
motion.
to recommend approval of the 2024 Parks budget as in our packet.
I'll second.
all right. Any further discussion? Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Budget approved. 7C is discussion about the Four Seasons Trail. Wondering if everybody was able to,
Otherwise, I'll let Daniel kind of
yeah,
handle this one.
okay.
Hi, everybody. Daniel Lake, Assistant City Administrator, just for the record. So, last meeting, you guys had talked and had brought up, some of you weren't here, so I'll back up for just a moment. Towards the end of the meeting last time, a couple committee members had brought up the idea of just walking kind of the individual parks throughout the city and the different trails and stuff that you guys had, and coming back and just kind of discussing amongst yourselves based upon like what recommendations might you have, what kind of things might you like to see to improve or change, or what kind of additions could we as staff maybe make to make them better or something like that. You guys, the people who were here who were left agreed that Four Seasons Trail would probably be the best first one to go to for everybody to walk and talk about. So with that in mind, we put this item on the agenda just to facilitate that discussion if you guys wanted to chat about it. There's no actions or anything required unless you guys in conversation want to tell us to do something, but the floor is yours if you guys want to talk about it or recommend anything or
Sure.
chat.
You
It's up
bet.
to
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, is that all right
Yeah.
if I go? Okay. I spoke to several neighbors. I knocked on some doors and talked to some neighbors, and they all really enjoy the trail. A lot of older adults use it, some runners. It doesn't get used a ton. One thing I did notice, and in fact, I talked to, I knocked on Russ's door to talk to him about it, where his house is, the trail juts and it walks right to the right of his property line where you're walking right in his backyard. I don't know if any of you folks took that.
Yeah.
And I was thinking it'd be nice for us to either plant trees or put up a privacy fence for him so he's not, like I walked by there and him and his wife saw me and they weren't upset because they've seen people before. But, I came back and knocked on the door and said, is this, you get a lot of action here, and we had a good discussion. So I think it'd be really nice if we took some action on that for them.
Which lot is it?
I don't know.
Here,
Which lot are we talking about?
I'll show you,
Maybe we
There
can get the
are-
other one,
Because there are,
right here. There's nothing, it's just a.
this
right-
one.
Yep, right here. I also, I walked most of the black also, and hole number 14 on the present disc golf course, that basket juts within, I think it was 8 feet from the trail. And I don't know if that basket should be moved or not, or if anybody's ever been hurt. I think if that trail was used a lot, there might be somebody getting hit, because if you overthrow that basket, you're going to hit right into that trail. I don't know if you folks walk that black, but you go up the hill, and it's on top of the hill, and the basket's right
yep,
there.
you see some of the disc golf course out
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I was thinking that might be something that we should take a look at too, but it's a nice trail, and it's well-maintained, and it's,
Okay. Anybody else like to?
I'd like to ask Mr. Zerden, in the wintertime, is that a groomed trail for like cross-country ski?
In the past, it was occasionally groomed. A groomer would be borrowed from someone. But it was like once or twice a season, which I think to do it correctly, you want to groom the trail every time it snows. And we don't have that capability. We don't have a groomer. The police department does possess a tracked wheel machine. I'm not saying but something like that I've seen. I believe Cross Lake uses a tracked wheel machine, and we do have a machine you could add tracks to. As far as could we do something like that, sure. Probably wouldn't be the day it snows. It'd have to be like doing clearing sidewalks, stuff like that. When we get caught up. But no, we don't groom it for cross-country skiing.
The thing I noticed about that, because I do cross-country ski and I snowshoe, is you have to cross a lot of streets if you want to keep going. And some of those hills are really
Ness
steep.
of, yeah.
So it's going to be a very rare bird that's going to be able to cross-country ski that and then want to go across multiple roads.
I was thinking about the snowshoeing piece. I thought, you know, you wouldn't have to do the whole trail, but when I went through it, you could even go up and down some of the flatter spaces, because there are some, I mean, it's almost like ravines, just like
Yep.
the rest of our,
No, it's great for snowshoeing. I think
Yeah.
it's fine for snowshoeing. I just was hoping it could be good for
I
skiing.
do know
but
the
then I went,
parking lot
no,
is
not with
plowed, so people can park there. And then if they want to
That would be
go down the
nice.
trail
plow the
to
park.
snowshoe or whatever, they have a place to park. But it's, of course, roads are first.
For
Yeah.
safety.
I want to get out before I want to go snow skiing.
So,
Hiking in there is great and snowshoeing is really great, but I just didn't feel like it would be conducive with especially all the road crossings, and those steep hills.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the places that do groom, you know, it's cumbersome and the equipment and all that, so I don't think that would be,
I think
Worth
Deanne
it.
would agree with you on that. She does our grooming out at the school for cross-country and things, and it's,
The only reason I ask is because on this map, it says skiing, snow skiing, and I just wondered if it was,
yeah.
or not snow skiing, but cross-country.
I wanted to say that was probably around the last time it was irregularly groomed. It was shortly after I was hired, because I was hired right around 2011 or 12. And I remember the guy that kind of specialized in park stuff, because at that time we had a sewer department and a public works department. They did that, but I wasn't privy to that. At that time, I did primarily sewer work, so.
So maybe that's something that could be updated on here too,
yes.
if it's not feasible.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
I
that
definitely think
information.
it should not be on there.
Can I ask a question about this?
Is that,
Castlewood.
I think biking should
Thought
be
there was a,
taken off of that too, because biking down those hills,
doesn't show on here.
I mean, that's pretty dangerous if there's biking on there. And walkers.
what were you adding, Diane?
I was going to, on this, since Jim brought up the next map, around Castlewood, I thought there was a public easement or something that surrounded Castlewood, and that's not shown on here as,
Here,
well, it's not a trail yet, but it's a potential one.
would this map help? Because we were looking at this one the other day.
That have Castlewood on there?
I don't know where that is, but you can look at it.
Castlewood's that right off, right on Bushman, you know, where they got the
It's kind of a square up here that's
archway
empty.
thingy?
They're like larger
Oh,
lots.
Oh,
And
there?
the split entry.
Oh, that way? Oh, no, okay.
I think there was something dedicated around the outside of that. Mike's nodding his head yes. So that might be something that,
Is that a park affiliated
A couple other
thing?
areas
Because
that I
isn't
saw.
Castlewood their own?
No, there's land that's I'd have to look to see what it is actually stated. It doesn't really say. But there's a corridor surrounding the Castlewood Estates, bringing it west, past Green Scene. So there is a trail.
so eventually,
I don't think sorry, I should say there's an easement.
so it could eventually be attached to a trail system.
Maybe at some point.
I mean, look how close we are to all that White Birch 15, 16, the disc golf, and the other trail. I mean, we could have a really,
There's two other areas I noted in there too that looked really good. And I put little notes like question mark, and then I talked,
where is she seeing it on?
we need to talk to Joe about it.
There is several plotted trails that are not constructed.
Just haven't been developed.
That would be something that we should know, because that might be, we might be able to make a long connected something or other through the city.
Is it in the master plan from but there are,
And they are all in that area. That was, when the developer, did the development, they incorporated, I want to say they're 20 or 30 foot easements, or I don't believe they're easements, they're dedicated to the public, and they're following property lines, and only 2 miles are maintained, usable. The rest of them,
Yeah,
they would have to be.
I noticed 2.3
constructed.
miles on my, and we should note the distance, I think, on the map too, for people who want to know. That's another thing, but I think that's a whole nother discussion. I think talking about what's needed to be there on what we have now, and then let's have a meeting or workshop or whatever it is to look at all the spaces and how we could connect them, because I think that's a whole nother thing. And I thought there was a lot of opportunity in there.
Yeah, part
And
of
like for even a
future.
playground area, I saw a flatter, bigger, more open area that looked like had a lot of
yeah,
potential.
maybe some future planning.
For future,
Well,
yeah.
and I was thinking, what Mr. Toft had said, you do feel, I mean, I went there the entire trail, and there are points in it where you feel like you're in somebody's backyard. I know technically we're on the trail.
Close.
The one thing though is that's tricky about that is like, I don't know. Is it up to the homeowner to keep trees up if they're wanting a buffer on their land? I mean, I don't,
People have put up fences,
some have.
and a lot of people have mowed a track from their yard out to it.
Right,
So like it opens from
overlapping
like
it. It's
8
like an
people, I counted
extension
8.
of their yard.
Yeah,
This was a ski trail when my kids were children, and they're now in their upper 30s. We skied it back then.
wow.
So, and there weren't, the streets weren't much of streets, so it wasn't a problem crossing with your skis.
Right.
Right.
But so, that trail has been there. It's not something new. A lot of the, it was long-term.
And I was wondering if there could
If you cleared your property
be-
to the edge, your fault.
Even one improvement that I had thought about, or possibility was maybe, I mean, I'm imagining if I were out there snowshoeing, maybe having a bench or something just to sit down, get my equipment on, kind of a thing, because you can't really do that in your car.
There is
The
one at
bench,
the
but it's
trail.
broken. Right when
Oh.
you start, right near the mailbox, the bench. I took pictures of everything. So the
I
mailbox,
thought that was just a cover, yeah, there is a mailbox.
but it's,
Yeah, it's been.
So the
Took a nap
bench,
in there.
it's kind
so
of
I
in the
think,
weeds.
I have a whole list of things like, of what I saw. But
Yeah,
that's
that
one of
was
them
one
for
thing I
sure.
just thought would maybe be, and maybe we push that into workshop time, I don't know, but,
I could submit a list of the things, so like the sign that says trail parking, it should say Four Seasons Trail Parking, so we know what trail you're talking about. And then when you get there, the mailbox with the maps was really good, fixing the bench, adding a dog poop station, because there were dog poop all over the trail, and every other walking trail I go on has a dog poop bag thing and a garbage to put it in. So that's an addition I think would be smart. And then when it crosses a road and it's not directly across the road, put an arrow sign. And there are some arrow signs, but they're tipped over or they're covered by growth.
well, it's just been a while since we've even
Yeah.
given this area
Yeah.
attention, so.
They're just minor things that'll just really make it a lot
You
better.
guys said that there was another home too that had people walking right in their backyard, like Russ's house. I didn't see that. Was that more on this section? Because you don't really know, that's one of those areas where you don't know where to go and you end up walking in his backyard.
It was pretty obvious that what the trail was. I mean, it's consistent, I don't know, 10-foot.
See, I didn't see a trail. I said, because I must have just mowed. It was all mowed. I couldn't tell. Wasn't sure if the trail was there, so I walked down. Then I saw the jut right after I walked through his lot.
Yeah, I was pleasantly, it had been a long time since I had been out there and was glad to see that it was as wide as it was and,
Yeah.
yeah, mowed and, yeah.
I think we should put the distance on the maps. I just want to finish what all my list was, but we can come back to that later.
Yeah, I guess what Bill was referring to is our property there, so. We like the idea of the trail and everything, so that's really cool. As far as it being marked really well, it's probably not, so only the people that have lived there for a while, the locals, which is great, will know about it. So we start, depending on what's going on in the future here, I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna find out, but, you start bringing in a lot of non-local people, and they start using those trails, they aren't gonna know where they're at, so. My wife got a hold of me, she's like, there's somebody in our backyard, there's somebody in our side yard, so. I went out there. It was just Bill, walking around. Just Bill, but I mean, he was walking around and he was looking at things and taking note of things, which is good, that's his job, so. But it is a thing. We like the idea of it. To put up, we don't really wouldn't want necessarily a big barrier fence, because that cuts back. We moved up here for a reason, for quiet space, stuff like that. Get out of the mess, so. But it is a kind of a thing. So we want to use it ourselves, and we want the locals, we want our neighbors to use it, but we want to be careful about what gets attached, what gets brought in, that kind of thing. Trees, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'm a pretty good yard keeper, and I'll make mine look a lot better than it does now, but, so, it's something to think about. You know, small spruce trees or something like that. A big privacy fence, not really into that. Shorter one's okay. Neighbor across the street, beautiful, I think Yvonne, is that her name?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways, those people are really nice people across from us, have a really nice white picket fence, it's really pretty. They have that alongside of it, so we're getting used to it, but it's something to consider if there's other people's property. I get it, I just got here. So it's like me building a house next to an airport and complaining about the noise. You know, I'm practical that way too, so can't really do that, but
Right.
We are nature people, so we don't mind that kind of thing and people using it that are our friends and neighbors, so. Yes, ma'am.
One of the things that I've wanted for a long time was to get the trails blacktop, because I will not walk in a forest.
Oh, yeah, and
I
the
will
winters are
not
bad
because
this
of
year, aren't
ticks.
they?
I
Yeah,
will not. I've already been treated once this year.
yeah, they're brutal.
So how would you feel about blacktop if that were in the future?
It really wouldn't, I mean, it's not technically my property, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I can't really say no on that. Again, it would be more of a privacy thing than you're on my land, because you're not on my land.
But no, I mean, everybody could say, okay, we need privacy, so they put up one of those big tall wooden cedar fences.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be walking
then-
in a tunnel.
The nature piece of it, I mean,
Well, we said we wouldn't want a fence, so that's what I was explaining.
Yeah.
That would cut back on the whole look of everything.
The whole thing,
so,
yeah.
I think
exactly.
Most people, like the Arboretum, who have land up against where you're walking on their trails, they put up their own, like, this is private property sign from this point on.
Yeah.
You put up just a sign, and I think we should be directing people a little bit better. I think there's a little opportunity for
Yeah, the only
more
one that's there
clear.
is just the no ATVs kind of
Yeah.
crammed
Yep.
into the evergreen tree there.
yep,
And that's all that's there, so if you come from the other way,
Yeah.
and I have a little grove of trees there, a patch, and we have kind of paths mowed through that, so it's easy to get kind of turned around. And, no, I don't disagree, Dan, it's cool, the path is cool, we like it, we'll probably use it, we haven't yet, we've only been there a couple of weeks.
yeah,
So,
plenty of opportunities. so.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure, but, the idea brought up of, maybe, just something to break it up, maybe it's not a bad idea for some trees or something, a little bit. It's a thought.
On the city property.
Well, it would probably be on the city
Why would we be
property.
putting trees on private property? We should put it on the city property, right on the edge
Well,
of
and
the
my
city property.
concern is are we gonna be starting to narrow? And whatever we do for one, we're gonna set a precedence too, that we need to really
Say
consider,
on the city property.
yeah,
But Pete,
have control.
yeah, if that were me and I would put something of my own to create more of a line if you feel there's not enough of a line, a definition between the trail and your yard. If that were me, I would be putting something on my property, maybe, like I say, a row of trees, maybe a flower bed or something where it's clearly, you know, you
Even a
don't walk in
log.
a flower bed.
Even a log on
A
the,
log, yeah.
on the,
Well,
I
it's
mean,
just a
just to
thought,
outline the path.
Yeah,
It's just a thought, but it's
some row of stones.
pretty evident if you
Yeah.
walk through ours there. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
not the end of the world, but I mean, we're happy with what we have.
How
there.
many people in a week would you say you see go by?
Well, it depends on who's home, but there's a few on the nice days. Yeah, there's some.
And are they kind of like your neighbors, just out having a stroll?
I
or
don't
is
know
that-
all my neighbors yet.
Oh,
Diane, I'm working on
Who
it.
knows?
We'll get there. But yeah, I don't know if they're local. I don't know
yeah,
if they're
I'm
from.
just, we used to have a park
Duluth
member
or-
whose property touched the trail. And she would kind of give us reports on, oh, I saw, you know, people
Oh.
snowshoeing, or I saw, because we don't have a way to know
You have no tracking.
how
Yeah.
actively it's used. I just wondered if you,
It'd be almost like a poll that you would have to take from the locals.
Well, and I do know that Bob, that
It'd be
works
pretty hard to do
in
that.
Public Works, he did say that he sees, between mowings, he sees, I mean, people are tromping down
I can
the grass
see-
when it
I
does
can
come
see-
up. and-
Yeah, you can see the grass,
signs
you can
of-
see footprints, and you can see tire tracks, and we see
Tire
runners
tracks?
and hikers, yeah,
Just for-
bikes.
oh,
bikes.
okay.
And for the equipment, for the employees.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
do.
Lawnmower.
So, yeah, other than that, but I thought I would
Thank you.
add a statement anyways on that, so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering with the Four Seasons Trail discussion, I mean, can we move this into some of our working
Those projects.
future project improvement? I don't know if we're ready to make a motion on,
No, I think this is definitely something that would be kind of a master planning
Yeah.
item.
Okay.
Talk about
And-
improvements to trails and.
Potentially try to connect it to another trail to give maybe some more options.
Yeah,
And
take all
bring
this.
bring more, you know, let more people circulate.
Yeah, I'd like to take the list that you have and the list that you had made and consolidate all of this and
Yeah.
come up with a plan.
Some of that could, I mean, we probably want to get the no drinking, no smoking sign up there though. And
That could be one of
there's
the-
not really a sign at that park at all.
Wasn't that where one of them would be slated to go, of the 12?
That concerns me.
Yeah,
And there isn't a sign at the park that says Four Seasons Trail. It's just
trail.
parking on the street on
Yeah. And I want to say years ago, Diane, you might have to help remind me. We had kind of gone round and round on actually naming it because if we did expand, would that still be the Four Seasons Trail if it's connected? And it was kind of
It was a
that's why it was
piece-
generic in a way, but
And it was kind of a piece of something we hoped would be bigger.
to expand.
renaming of other, whoops. We are gonna be renaming the other, or possibly looking at names of comprehensive of all the, you know, in the
Recreation
master plan,
areas
so
and- yeah.
that would come in there too. But maybe we could just put that sign on the mailbox, the no drinking, no smoking right now, I don't know. And then look at repairing, I mean, I think we could repair the bench right away and get the dog poop thing up, so we could, those three, you know, like some basic small things we could move on before we do all this
Sign
other
about
stuff.
cleaning up after your dog.
I think just notifying Mr. Zerden that the bench is broken, he's gonna take care of that without anything else.
Yeah, that can be fixed out of, I mean, just our regular operations budget. We
Great.
do have, I believe we have spare signs that, because we have them in this park for dog waste, you know, mind your manners, clean up after your own stuff. Because whenever I do order signs, there is usually, I don't order a bunch of extra, but one or two.
Oh, perfect.
Sure.
And then straightening signposts and stuff like that, that's not a huge deal. And a lot of the directional arrows, we may have extra stuff like that, so.
Yeah, get started with what we've got.
That'd be a great
and-
start.
Yeah,
You know, let's not wait on that. We
They just
We
sound
don't
like
have
work
to?
order items.
They were just minor, because I thought it was great, and I ate a lot of raspberries on the way.
yes, there's a ton. All right, any
Need
further
motion
discussion?
for that?
Huh?
We don't need any motion for that.
No.
Joe's just going to take it. And can Joe give us a map of what those areas are, so we can review that
think I
next
have
time
it.
for next meeting's agenda? Review a map of all those, what are you calling it, public spaces or easements or whatever?
Parks, public land.
That might exceed my ability.
So I do have a copy here.
Yeah, I was
of
gonna say, do you
some
mean
more
like the map that's
proposed.
on here? That,
So this
Get
is
us a
some more
copy of that.
proposed, yeah.
So that has all the places we could go to,
It connected
ban to?
Ranchette and, but that wasn't all of it though. This was kind of the end of that master plan
Okay.
for like future growth expansion. It's part of that document.
So does that clearly mark all that in?
I'm just gonna see where because I was reading,
Oh, sorry.
Are they called outlots?
trails, here we go.
Page.
72. This was kind of the inventory. And then proposed improvements, and some of the stuff never quite happened, but there's the long-range planning options. And then I think in the very back here, there was a map here that showed potential, the very last thing here. Proposed trails from August 9th of 2011.
Yeah.
I think it was the very back page.
94.
Yeah, page 94. So let's dig this out and get it.
So there's like on Ranchette, there's like an entrance that's mowed, and then there's kind of a big area that goes in past that, the back, behind those houses.
On that.
And some history on that, Gail. The corner lot on Ranchette and not the road that we have the parking on, the corner lot on the other street was attempted to be purchased by the city as a tax forfeited lot because that was going to be the start. And the person went to buy it and was outbid at the county sale, but nothing's ever been done with that lot in 15 years. So I'm wondering about that lot.
Very good.
It's just been sitting.
Yeah, so that doesn't really show, whereas this map shows that, kind of, in these blue areas. This is on Ranchette here.
Well, and I do like that it's coming, I mean, the proposed trails, they're coming further, encompassing more,
Comes out all over.
Ski
off
chalet.
of Dove Street, and, I mean, it's,
Yeah. Well, here's where the ski trail is, right here,
yeah, right up in here.
up in here.
Yep.
So it was at the corner of Ranchette and Ski Chalet that we were trying to buy the lot to start the trail. And that's why it goes to the road there.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. I think we need to
Off track.
move ahead. Any other discussion?
So we don't need any, do we need any action or motion on it, on the Four Season Trail?
add at this point?
Just to add it to the agenda for future.
For working
Yeah.
and planning? Okay.
And there again, here's what came into it, and we considered the expense, like say to blacktop it, and then maintaining it. That's where we were trying to be cost conscious of not overextending what we did if we couldn't maintain it adequately. Oh, you've got this one even. Good
I
for
got some
you.
old stuff. All right, moving on to item number 8, staff reports.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just got two quick things. On the August 7th council meeting, so Monday, August 7th, the city council will be considering the planning commission's recommendation for rezoning the disc golf course parking lot, and then we'll be just talking about the design of the disc golf course parking lot. So again, that's August 7th. And then the only other thing I've got that we're just kind of keep putting out there for everybody at all the committees and such is July 26th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. we will have an open house here at City Hall for the Bushman Road design. So at that meeting, we will have consultants with WSB. They'll have here, they're finalizing right now a couple different alignment options. They want to get input from the public. So they'll be here. They'll have poster boards of the different alignments and people just to come in, see, talk to the staff, talk to any elected officials there, the engineers, any questions you might have. So that's the July 26th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Again, it's designed as a come and go, so there is no formal presentation at that. So anytime that works for you between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., feel free to stop by and come and take a look at those alignments and give us your initial thoughts on that.
What time is that?
6 p.m.
Okay.
I've got a real issue with that type of presentation. That relies on all of us, say we all come and we all talk to every single person and hear the exact same answers. I think it's way better to make a master presentation. We all hear the same thing. We're all privy to the same information, news, diagrams, charts. And then if we wanted to then individually go get more clarification from somebody. But I really don't like this open house type of thing. Because if you don't go to the right person, you don't get the right information.
Well, what's the intent of it? Is it just
So
questions?
the intention is not so much to us to tell you, but we want to listen. So here's the alignment. This is what this alignment does versus another alignment, and do you like one alignment more than the other alignment?
But first we should see a presentation on the various alignments or something, rather than, I mean, you could have 10 people waiting to speak to one person and somebody else saying, nobody's talking to me, I've been to those things before, and if I don't ask the right person the right question, I miss a big hunk of information.
Will there be visuals and things there that,
Yes, and I think, Diane, I understand where you're coming from. This is a process that we've done pretty successfully in the past, and I think the intention was more of when you do a presentation, if people can't be there at 6:15, they don't come at all. So when you do just kind of a more come and you go, more people, we actually get more
higher attendance?
we get higher attendance and more participation because people don't feel like, well, if I can't get there by 6:15, then I guess I'm not going to go because I'm going to miss the presentation. So, I can get there at 7:30, I can get there at 7:45, people will still show up.
Could it be a Zoom?
What?
Could it be a Zoom?
Well, because it's kind of it's just kind of a
Drop
come and you
in.
go, and just,
No.
the engineers will be here.
I mean,
kind of
if it were
with
a presentation, it could be like a Zoom presentation.
And then
more
people could watch it later, can't they,
Well, I
on
think
their...
and also to
You're gonna
clarify, it'll
record
be
it?
followed up with a more formal discussion at a council meeting.
Yeah. And
So
this,
this is just the initial kind of.
And everybody has their own
Get people's kind
preferences,
of
so.
gut reactions on what they like and what they don't like. Again, we're not trying to tell you like this should be the one, this is the best option, this is the worst option. It's more of, here's some options, pros and cons to either options. We want to hear from you, what do you think of that?
what happened to all this stuff a couple years back when we did that and I went online and responded? It was when I was out of my house because my house burned, so it was after 2020. And went online and I wrote this big paper to them with ideas and comments, never heard a single word again.
And that was the whole corridor study that was done. That was like the whole.
And then what happened to it? Never heard anything back. Never had another meeting or anything.
So if I could.
Oh, wait.
I served on that committee. So the corridor study was adjoining from the Bushman Road, corner of County Road 11, all the way out to unknown, I'm gonna draw a blank on the roads, but adjoining with Ideal and Pequot.
Yeah.
Nelson and, yeah, thank you, and Wild
Nelson, is that
Acres.
Nelson
Acres.
Road?
So,
Well, they
and
detached.
Ackerson? Ackerson. It's been a while.
Okay.
And so we had 4 community partners. We had Breezy Point, Pequot Lakes, Ideal, and Jenkins. And we were all coming to the table. We were asking, we asked citizens what they wanted for the corridor. We actually didn't know which route was best, if it was going to be north, if it was going to go west. And unfortunately, that whole corridor redo, failed. Community partners backed down. Pequot Lakes decided not to continue forward with that corridor study. So now we're at this point that Bushman Road needs to be addressed. And so now we're only looking at the Bushman Road. From there, it connects to other entities' roads. It's up to them to decide what and when they're going to act on. So this is a discussion now looking at just
Breezy Point.
Bushman Road. Our consultants have looked at all data that was presented back from that study and has utilized it, but that's the reason that I don't want to say it fell off the table, but it did dissipate. We weren't continuing for that corridor.
Yeah, there was no more collaboration or,
Yeah, and
Partnership in
that
that.
study was also, Bolton Mink did there, that was more kind of like that 10,000 foot view. What WSB is gonna be bringing in is actual, like, they've gone out there, they've done, it's been completely surveyed, they've done soil borings, so they're actually looking at it, not just kind of from a top-down view, they actually look like, okay, what are the soils like, so what kind of like road would need to be built? The council's already given them direction of building it to a local standard. So, not doing the county highway idea, the local standard road. And then what they've done is looking at speed data, crash data, all of that kind of data and gone, okay, what is the best way, if we're gonna redo Bushman, what is the best way to realign Bushman? What's the best way to address or what are different ways to address the Bushman-Ranchette intersection? So this is actually this is engineering, not just kind of drawing and where we think it should go, but full on based off of speeds, crash data, the soils, actual engineering of the road. It's not the final engineering, calling this phase 1. So once this whole phase is done, and this is not the end of that phase, this is just kind of initial, here are different alignments, we want to get public input, then the council will also bring that to the council and say, here, this is what we heard of different alignments. The council will kind of pick an alignment that they like, and then from there, it's going to stop, because that's phase 1. And then they'll decide, do they want to go into phase 2, which we do in 2024, which is full-on engineering and design to the point of going out for bid. And then with that idea, then in 2025 would be construction. We actually have, just also clarify, we have gotten to an agreement with Ideal Township. There's on the west end up by Robin Hood, that north side of Bushman is there's about a half a mile that is Ideal Township. So they have signed on with us for that shared portion. So they're covering all costs of their half of the road there. But then once it's stopping at the city limits, so it doesn't go beyond that.
I'm just going to interject here real quick. We might get hail at 8 o'clock, so I know we want to get the workshop in too
Okay.
for the evening.
yeah, we need to get moving along on our
But Dan,
agenda.
if you have more questions, please come in and talk to us.
I do have a bunch of questions.
Yeah, so please come in and set a time and we'll.
Come in like in the day sometime?
I
that
will
what
not
you
be
want?
here tomorrow. Daniel.
I will be here if you want to come in
Daniel's
and
kind of
chat.
taking the
just-
lead on this one, so you can come and talk Daniel's ear off. Otherwise,
Yeah,
if you
Oh,
want
I
to talk
feel
to
sorry for you, Dan.
Yeah,
Or if
really,
you wanna talk
whenever
to
you
me,
want,
Diane,
ma'am.
just give me- when we're done here tonight, we can set something up.
Yeah.
A
if
local
you wanna do
standard,
fine.
would that still support all those gravel trucks, or would they be forced to go out 16?
We've got to move forward with
Diane,
Park
we
and
can
Rec
talk about it
stuff,
offline.
business, so,
Those are the only two things I had, Madam Chair.
okay. All right, any other staff reports?
I wanted to address my earlier question,
Okay.
if I may, Madam
So-
Chair.
So committee member reports,
Yep.
that Mr. Toft,
Yep.
you-
Yep.
we had,
Okay, yeah, I'd ask you those questions because you met with Mr. Ziridan and Mr. Carlson out there and decided to not get a hold of us. Like, I talked to Mr. Maroney last meeting, and I don't think anybody involved has a civil engineering degree, has a architectural landscaping degree, has any knowledge of hydrometry or agronomy. And to put a golf course, regular golf course in any state in the union in a residential area, you got to hit all those disciplines. So my thought was, if you did that, then one of you must have had that training, not to get a hold of me or Jonathan to come out there and have that discussion about where number 5 should go. So it boils down for me that it looks like the two guys that designed this, the only qualifications were that they liked disc golf. So I'm just curious, would the Breezy Point taxpayers put up a restaurant and let me design it because I like to eat? I mean, that seems like the same logic to me as this went forward. So we were supposed to meet, decide where hole 5 went, and they made the decision without any input from us. And I am a committee member. I thought we were going to meet out there, Mike, with you and Joe, and it's what was discussed last week. when
well,
we
did
were gonna
city
get
council
Jonathan.
ask us as a committee to make a
Direction the
decision
city-
about that, or what
direction the
was?
city council gave on June 5th
Yes,
was to finish the disc golf course
yes,
and move hole 5 to the west, and that pin was not supposed to be placed until hole 5 was moved to the west.
I don't remember specifics like that.
That is the motion. You can check the minutes, Mr. Todd.
I will, because I don't remember. Do you remember that, Jonathan? That was specifically said that? I don't remember that.
so that is what has happened, correct?
Yes, we haven't done it
Yes.
yet. We went out there to look at what was the most, council gave direction. We went out there looking at within the direction that the council gave, what was the most way to fit that direction and with the least impact. So we kind of set a direction. The date that it'll be done hasn't been determined yet. The council's also direction was as time allows, and it's been a
busy.
pretty busy time of the year. So we've kind of got out there when we can, but Joe and I haven't set the exact time when the intention is to go out there and make that adjustment.
Did you even look at our adjustment, out of curiosity?
We did,
Why didn't you guys like that?
because we didn't feel it met the actual direction of the council.
So we have to follow, we're following what the
My
council
job
has.
is to follow the direction given by the city council. If you don't like people can disagree with my administrative decision.
I just wish you would have gotten a hold of me is my main issue. I asked twice and I didn't get any contact. That was my issue. And we could have had a discussion. You could have told us that out there. We might not have liked it, but we would have accepted it because you had us come out.
Anything further?
No, thank you.
I'd make a couple, not on that, I'd do my own kind of comment on something.
Committee reports?
Yeah, this is your
Okay.
time.
Recently had an event in the pavilion and heard great feedback from the people in attendance. They all assumed it was brand new. I said, no, this has been here for maybe as much as 15 years. The bathroom got good reviews also for how clean it was, and just the whole, for being a park bathroom, they were quite impressed. And then when I was touring park properties, I went to the fishing pier, and there was a man out there fishing, and he wasn't catching anything, but he thought it was great. He loved it. He thought it was beautiful. And as I was leaving, a mom and a young boy showed up to fish as well. So I thought that was some pretty good bits of feedback, and I wanted to share that with everybody.
Thank you.
Nice. It's great to hear some positive.
Oh, it was really positive about the pavilion, really positive.
I've seen several events being held out there between graduations and family gatherings.
Yeah.
Okay,
And we should thank Mr. Zerden for keeping it up like that.
Yes,
His
thank
crew.
you.
Crew, yep. Yep. Thank you. All right, any other members have anything? All right, it is, what is the exact time? Gonna make a motion to adjourn
We want to adjourn to the workshop.
to workshop, yes, at 6:50 PM. You second, Diane?
Second.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, headed into workshop.
Before?
Can we take